You were never meant to wake up, not really. You were trained to move, to respond, to obey clocks, deadlines, systems. But awakening, the kind that shatters illusion, the kind that rips off the mask, was never part of the deal. Because awakening makes you unpredictable, and unpredictability is a threat to the machine. From the moment you could walk, you were evaluated by your usefulness, not by your depth, not by your perception, but by how well you followed instructions. Were you obedient? Were you productive? Were you fast, quiet, convenient? That's all the world ever asked of you, and you mistook that approval for love. Let's be clear, this isn't a motivational video. This is a wake-up call, and not the soft, comforting kind. This is the type of awakening that leaves a scar. Because you need to understand one thing: the world doesn't care if you're awake. It only cares if you're functional. You've been fed the lie that being a good citizen means being consistent, reliable, and efficient, like a well-oiled gear in a system you didn't design. You were rewarded for checking boxes, not questioning them. Praised for self-control, not self-awareness. The truth is brutal. The world, your job, your school, your country, is not built to support consciousness. It is built to extract labor. It smiles when you perform. It panics when you pause. And so you keep moving. You scroll through endless noise, thinking you're informed. You work 10 hours a day, thinking you're building a future. You nod in meetings, memorize scripts, agree with ideas you don't believe in. Also, no one calls you difficult. You sleep, but never rest. You think, but never question. You function, but you are not free. This essay is not for everyone. It's not for the comfortably numb. It's not for the high-functioning asleep. It's for those who feel the static under the surface. That low hum of something being deeply wrong, not just with the system, but with how you were taught to live within it. You've been deceived, not by villains in dark rooms, but by structures so normal they seem invisible. This deception is not personal, it's institutional. You were conditioned into it, and you are still inside it. Forget everything they told you about waking up. It's not about buying books, meditating in the morning, or taking cold showers. Awakening is not a lifestyle. It's a rupture, a betrayal of the role you were given, a refusal to be optimized for a system that feeds on your unconscious compliance. This is not a video to make you feel good. This is a blade, sharpened with truth, and if you're ready to use it, keep listening. But if comfort is your goal, leave now, because from this point on, comfort dies, and perception begins. You are not a citizen. You are not even a person in the eyes of the system. You are a unit, a manageable, trackable, correctable unit. And the sooner you understand this, the sooner you can choose whether to rebel or remain a cog. Imagine a prison, not one with bars or chains, but with glass walls and invisible rules. You wake up every day inside it. You smile, you dress, you go to work, you follow a script you didn't write. And the most brilliant part of this prison is that you think you chose it. You think you're free. Michel Foucault called it the panopticon, a structure where the prisoner doesn't need to be watched constantly. They just need to believe they could be watched. And so they internalize the watcher. They become their own warden, their own regulator, their own judge. This is not dystopia. This is daily life. You don't need a boss screaming over your shoulder if you already carry their voice in your head. You don't need a police officer if you've absorbed every law into your muscle memory. That is the genius of modern control. It makes you discipline yourself, efficiently, willingly, proudly. You go to school, and from an early age you're taught how to sit still, how to raise your hand, how to perform without questioning. You are praised not for original thought but for conformity, not for courage but for consistency. You are trained not to think, but to behave. By the time you enter the workforce, you're already domesticated. You fear being unproductive more than being untrue to yourself. You panic when you rest. You feel guilt when you disconnect. You seek permission to be human, and mistake that permission for freedom. But Foucault didn't stop at the panopticon. He went further. He saw how every institution, hospitals, schools, military, corporations, serves as a mechanism of normalization. They define what's healthy, what's sane, what's acceptable, and then punish whatever falls outside that line. Not with force, with exclusion, with shame, with silence. You don't need whips to keep people in line anymore. All you need is a label: lazy, crazy, toxic, weird, and people will fall into place. They'll self-correct. They'll chase the approved image, smiling, punctual, productive, even if it empties their soul. The world you live in doesn't demand your truth. It demands your compliance. And here's where it gets worse. The system doesn't want you asleep either. It wants you aware enough to perform, but numb enough to obey, awake enough to do your job, asleep enough to never ask why. This is why so many people feel hollow. It's not depression, it's misalignment. Your soul was not designed to be managed. Your instincts were not made to be scheduled. But from the moment you enter the grid, you are plugged into a rhythm that was never yours, ticking to someone else's clock. You were taught that awakening means escape, that you must flee the system, go off-grid, abandon society. That's another trap. The true revolt is not escape. It is lucidity. It is choosing to be fully aware within the system and refusing to be shaped by it. They gave you options, not freedom. You were told you could choose your path, but only from the menu they created. Pick your major, pick your job, pick your politics, all within a narrow spectrum that never threatens the architecture of control. And you believed it was autonomy. The prison evolved. It learned to wear the language of empowerment. Now it tells you to be your best self, to hustle harder, to build your brand. You're not just a worker now. You're a brand ambassador of your own captivity. You post productivity porn. You read books on how to be 1% more efficient. You optimize your sleep, your diet, your calendar, until there's no space left for rebellion, or even stillness. Foucault saw this too, how power doesn't always suppress. Sometimes it seduces. It invites you to participate in your own surveillance. You track your steps, monitor your thoughts, record your moods, and share them willingly. You hand over your inner life in exchange for algorithms that promise better focus, better sleep, better output. But nothing teaches you how to disconnect, because disconnection would be death to the system. The system doesn't fear your suffering. It fears your clarity. It can absorb your pain. It can monetize your anxiety. But what it cannot tolerate is your refusal to play the game, your silence, your pause, your full attention turned inward, toward a question that cannot be answered by a spreadsheet or a notification. Why am I doing this? That question is radioactive. It cracks the floor beneath your routines. It challenges the rituals of performance. It dares you to imagine a different rhythm, one that doesn't exist to fuel economies or satisfy metrics, but to nourish being itself. But here's the brutal reality. Most people don't want that question. They don't want to wake up. They want comfort. They want validation. They want to be told they're doing okay, even if okay means sleepwalking toward burnout, toward breakdown, toward death. Because awakening comes with a cost. You start to see the emptiness behind the noise, the forced smiles, the corporate mantras, the meetings about meetings, the team-building events designed to humanize a machine. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You'll feel like a foreigner in your own life. You'll sit in rooms and wonder why no one else notices the absurdity. You'll scroll through social media and feel the hunger in every polished post, the desperation to be seen, to be useful, to matter. Foucault warned us, power is not just top-down. It flows sideways. It's embedded in every social norm, every casual expectation. It lives in how we talk, how we dress, how we smile. And the only way to resist it is to see it, clearly, consistently, without flinching. That's why awareness is dangerous, because it breaks the spell. And once the spell breaks, the real war begins. Not against others, but against your own conditioning. Against the part of you that still craves approval, that still fears rejection, that still confuses productivity with worth. You cannot defeat the machine by attacking it. You must stop feeding it, stop performing, stop optimizing, stop apologizing for existing without being useful. Your worth is not in your output. It never was. But as long as you believe it is, you'll remain in the glass prison, beautifully lit, perfectly maintained, and utterly inescapable. Unless you wake up, you don't notice the prison because it's designed to feel like home. You wake up to an alarm, not because your body is rested, but because your schedule says it's time. You grab your phone, scroll through curated lives, absorb silent commands. Be more, do more, look better. You feel a quiet sense of failure before the day even begins, not because you're broken, but because the system needs you to feel insufficient. That's how it keeps you in motion. You go to work or school, and every action is tracked, rated, measured. Even your silence is interpreted. You smile, even when exhausted. You nod, even when you disagree. You manage your face like a PR campaign. You are not allowed to feel, only to function. In meetings, you speak in sanitized phrases. Let's circle back. I'll take ownership. Just to echo what was said. Your language becomes sterile. Safe. You are not rewarded for truth. You are rewarded for fluency in the dialect of compliance. You eat quickly, not to nourish, but to resume productivity. You reply to messages instantly, not because they're urgent, but because you fear the optics of delay. Even your free time is under siege. You turn hobbies into side hustles. You read self-help books not to grow, but to fix yourself, as if stillness were a defect. You apologize constantly for being tired, for being slow, for needing rest, as if humanity were an error to be corrected. You can't sleep well. Your body resists the rhythm. You wake at 3 a.m., heart racing, mind racing, still carrying the scripts from the day before. And the worst part, you think this is normal. It's not. It's submission. Most self-help advice is a trap disguised as freedom. You're told to meditate, to journal, to wake up at 5 a.m. and drink lemon water. You're told to visualize your goals, to create vision boards, to recite affirmations in the mirror. And while these things aren't inherently wrong, they're built on a false premise that you are the problem and not the system. The language is always the same. Fix your mindset, change your habits, upgrade your routine. But what if your exhaustion isn't a scheduling problem, but a symptom of spiritual violence? What if you're not burned out because you lack discipline, but because you've been disciplined by the wrong forces for too long? The conventional approach is to help you adapt to the machine, to smooth the friction, to polish you into a high-functioning, smiling, agreeable asset. It offers you tools, but only tools that keep you within the boundaries. You become better at coping, not better at seeing. And there's a difference. You can't heal from a wound while pretending the blade isn't still inside you. Foucault understood this. He saw how institutions train you to internalize failure. If you're anxious, you're weak. If you can't focus, you're lazy. If you question authority, you're ungrateful. And so, you turn inward and try to optimize the pain. You treat your suffering as inefficiency, but the real issue is not your schedule. It's your submission. You were never taught how to protect your consciousness. You were only taught how to improve your output. That's why the more you improve, the emptier you feel. Because you weren't meant to become a better machine. You were meant to become a fully conscious human being. And the two are not compatible. The first step is not action, it's refusal. Before you can build a different rhythm, you must break the one that owns you. Not with noise, not with rebellion for show, but with something far more dangerous. Intentional disobedience, silent defiance. You begin by choosing not to perform. Wake up and don't touch your phone. Not because it's trendy, but because it breaks the spell. Sit with your own thoughts for 10 minutes. No input, no agenda. Let the withdrawal hit. That anxiety you feel? That's your nervous system detoxing from surveillance. Stay with it. Stop apologizing for moving slow, for being tired, for needing space. Stop narrating your life to prove you're working hard. You don't owe the world proof of your effort. Your existence is not a pitch deck. Reclaim your time, not in blocks on a calendar, but in presence. Eat slowly, with no screen. Walk without headphones. Practice uselessness, something done for no result. Draw, stare, breathe. These acts aren't laziness, they're recovery. They're defiance. Speak with precision. Don't dilute your truth with performative agreement. When you don't know, say, I don't know. When you don't care, say nothing. Let people feel uncomfortable around your authenticity. That discomfort is theirs to carry, not yours to fix. Most importantly, observe your programming. Notice when you rush to please, when you reach for validation, when you feel the need to explain, to over-deliver, to outperform. Pause. Ask, who taught me this? Who benefits from this reflex? Your new routine is not about being better. It's about being aware. Brutally, consistently, unapologetically aware. Because awareness, sustained over time, is the most subversive habit of all. And from that awareness, new instincts will emerge, ones that don't serve the system, but serve your freedom. You are not the only force acting on your life. And that's exactly why awareness must become your weapon. In The Prince, Machiavelli wrote of two forces, virtù and fortuna. Virtù is not virtue in the moral sense. It's strategic force, willpower sharpened into action. It is clarity turned into conquest. Fortuna is chaos, unpredictability, external currents beyond your control. The storms, the politics, the culture, the economy, the algorithms. The system you live in is a fortress of fortuna disguised as order. It floods you with trends, crises, metrics, comparisons, all to keep you off balance, to make you reactive, docile, dependent. The moment you try to pause, it throws noise at you. The moment you reflect, it distracts. It doesn't need to destroy you. It just needs to keep you spinning. Virtù, then, is your refusal to spin. It's the capacity to act with intention, even when the world demands reaction, to choose when others obey, to sit in silence when others panic, to withdraw not from fear, but from strategy. This tension is brutal. The world will call your calm arrogance. It will call your focus selfish. Your silence will be interpreted as danger, because in a world built on constant engagement, disengagement is a threat, and so you will be tested, not once, but daily. Your clarity will be mocked. Your stillness will be punished. That is the tax of consciousness, the cost of not serving the gods of noise. But if you hold the line, if you stay rooted while the current pulls, you become something else. Not a resistor, a sovereign. You no longer belong to the tides. You become the architect of your rhythm. And that is how virtù defeats fortuna. Not by overpowering it, but by refusing to bow. The deeper you awaken, the more subtle the enemy becomes. At first you fight distraction, then obligation, then fear of judgment. But beyond these lies the most insidious adversary, your former self, the obedient echo still living inside you, the part of you that craves applause, that panics in silence, that whispers, maybe if I just try harder, they'll finally accept me. To win this war, you need more than motivation. You need systems of resistance, structures to protect your clarity from erosion. Strategy 1. Guard your attention like a fortress. Audit everything that enters your mind. Every app, every conversation, every ambient voice has a cost. Don't consume information you don't intend to act on. Don't follow people who sell comfort disguised as truth. Curate your inputs like a paranoid librarian, because what enters your mind becomes the shape of your thoughts. Strategy 2. Embrace solitude as training. The system has taught you to fear being alone with your mind. That's why silence feels like withdrawal. Reclaim it. Schedule time to be unproductive on purpose. Not to rest, but to listen. To confront what arises when there's no script to follow. Solitude sharpens perception. It burns off illusion. Strategy 3. Define success on your own terms. If you don't define it, they will, and it will always lead you back to performance. Success for you might be stillness, or truth spoken at the right moment, or one day of full integrity. Choose a metric that rewards awareness, not just output. Strategy 4. Practice deliberate noncompliance. Say no, even when it costs you. Delay responses. Walk slowly. Speak when it matters, and only then. These are small ruptures, but repeated, they become armor. The machine feeds on reflex. Starve it. Stay dangerous. Not through rebellion, but through lucidity. If you've made it this far, you already feel it. The fracture between what you were trained to be and what you are beginning to see. You are not here to be optimized. You are here to wake up, not softly, not partially, fully, brutally, completely. The world will not applaud this. It will resist you. It will call your withdrawal laziness, your refusal arrogance, your clarity delusion. That's how deeply the machine fears those who stop serving it. It cannot survive too many of you stepping out of rhythm. But this is the moment you choose. You can return to the role, to the polished version of yourself who obeys, who smiles, who posts productivity and calls it purpose. Or you can burn the role to the ground. You can choose to build something slower, sharper, stronger. Not a new version of you, but the real one, unfiltered by expectation, untouched by demand. This is not about becoming enlightened. This is about becoming sovereign. And sovereignty requires declaration. So if you're ready, not just to know, but to act, Leave your mark. Write it in the open, not to perform, to commit. Type it. I choose to wake up. Say it aloud. Whisper it in defiance. Carve it into your habits. Build it into your silence. Because knowledge without action is cowardice, and clarity without commitment is just another illusion. You've been trained to stay productive. Now train yourself to become awake. They don't need you conscious, which is exactly why you must become it. Now move, but move awake.